Our first entry has been getting big attention in the Spanish-speaking YouTube community. It's a video of two people performing an exorcism on a girl who clearly looks unwell. There's 2 eggs on this plate. The priestess cracks one egg and it appears perfectly normal, but after rubbing the other egg on the possessed girl's skin, it cracks open to a pure black sludge, which is an extremely creepy sign. But things get even more bizarre as the girl sits up with very dilated eyes and drinks the sludge, which causes her to shake and twitch, and the full video cannot be found on YouTube because it gets even more disturbing. I think only seeing this part of the ordeal is enough to terrify anyone who isn't brave. When performing at the theater, more often than not you hope to entertain, but some audience are not very lively. Originally published by YouTuber Phil Koch, this footage shows a paranormal investigation. While exploring a haunted theater, Phil kicks back in his theater seat, sitting alone in the dark room. A wide shot shows no one in the aisle behind Phil. The row is entirely empty. Little does he know he's in for more than a show. Watch the seat to his left behind him. While sitting there staring forward, the seat shudders back and forth, as if someone pushed it down to sit but then decided against it. Although he couldn't have seen the movement, the sound sends Phil fleeing the scene, likely without any desire for an encore. Perhaps this entire theater is reserved for the passed on, and he and his paranormal team disturbed a packed house. But another investigation by Phil is gaining much traction in the Spanish-speaking community. While investigating, this door opens right in front of him, and people are claiming to see this figure.
It's still back here again, and we'll take a look. Come on.
What do you think? I just know I wouldn't be going anywhere near that building. A Russian YouTuber named Phantom claims to have met a ghost at an abandoned house that's full of, quote, many terrible and mysterious legends. Maybe this sign will tell us more about its history if someone can translate it. All I can make out is the year 1910 at the very bottom. In the middle of a rock floor, he finds candles unlit, strewn in a circle. The scene gives him an eerie feeling, and he doesn't want to stay here for long, for fear of whoever left them here returning to find him. He thinks the legends probably are not real, and that whoever set these candles was just trying to scare paranormal explorers like him. He decides to come back even later at night to make sure the legends of paranormal activity really are just a myth. As he creeps back to the house, he's surprised to find the candles are now lit and his horrors have just begun. Standing in the middle of the circle is a mysterious tall figure wearing robes, and seemingly not even noticing Phantom is at the window. So deep is its concentration, it's locked in a dark meditation of some sort that he cannot break. Phantom no longer cares about getting the best paranormal evidence ever caught on camera, and goes running into the woods for his life. The woods have grown colder, more forbidding, as he hides between a tree and wait, too afraid to turn his light off even though he knows he's being followed. The mysterious figure is on him in an instant, and as it heads his way without taking any steps, he gets to see its smirking face under the cloak. I think this video is probably not real, because it looks like he uses a filter to stimulate his equipment messing up, and also because if it was real, then I don't know how he could have survived. Linfamous TV goes ghost hunting in the woods of Long Island, and they say this place is truly haunted. They are expecting the ghost sighting of a lifetime, and what they've caught on camera does not let them down.
Yeah. Oh, what the f was that?
They aren't sure what they heard, and so they press forward despite feeling scared early on. The deeper they go, the more haunted things start to look and feel.
Over here, it looks like it's something from a horror movie.
Right. These woods right here are really spooky.
Something is wrong with this part of the woods. They can feel it, but being ghost hunters means doing creepy stuff all the time, and so they go down this path against better judgment.
Got a cold spot.
Completely blocking out the sky.
I thought it was her friend, but it's not. At 5 minutes and 58 seconds, Lynn's friend is to the right. He is still to the right at 6 minutes when Lynn looks left and then up at the trees. When she brings the camera down, a ghost is there. There is a ghost on the left. Her friend, meanwhile, is still standing to her opposite side as they try to consult her GPS system and get weird interference.
Where in the...
Well, on the map, what does it take us to? Does it look like it ends?
I'm sure. Like in Huntington or something. Like let's see. What?
Their GPS loudly messes up and takes them in a wide loop for almost 3 hours before it straightens out. Weird how their equipment does this the same minute they have this paranormal encounter. Oh, and one last thing. Lynn's friend is wearing a baseball hat. This ghost looking straight at them does not. Therefore, I have a strange feeling that this ghost sighting video could be real. Sometimes you can just sense evil in places. Sometimes in your very own home. Posted in the very spooky video subreddit by Big Daddy Marco, the Redditor writes that he is quarantined in a haunted house. Originally published to YouTube by Donnie Drunkard, he writes, "Since being in quarantine, the paranormal and haunted activity has manifested in poltergeist activity on an almost daily basis. I believe the entity is demonic in nature." Terry explains that this is an update and recap of footage caught on his live stream. He also says that he thinks there's more than one spirit in his home. Using a paranormal tool that captures movement, the recap shows that something is indeed present in the hallway, and its presence is made known on more than one occasion. The kinetic image appears. In the last clip, he tells the thing to leave, and after a moment it does as he commands.
Trespass against us. I'm shaking so bad right now, man.
It disappears from the monitor. Some in the comments suggest that Terry get a demonologist into his home to take this thing on. What would you do if you sensed, heard, and saw a demonic spirit in your home? Would you stay or would you go? History is bound to affect the aura of some places. Particularly history is chilling as Lemp Mansions. Posted to the Ghosts subreddit by Baked Potato, the Redditor writes, "This video was taken off my friend's old phone when she visited the Lemp Mansion years ago. Before we analyze the clip, you'll need to know a little background on Lemp Mansion. The historical house in St. Louis, Missouri, was the home of the Lemp family in the early 20th century. 3 of the Lemps would go on to take their own lives in the family home. The only surviving Lemp was Edwin, who lived until the age of 90. He did not live in the Lemp family home, however. He moved to his own estate later on. Needless to say, with all these horrific and sad occurrings in Lemp Mansion, some believe it's haunted by spirits. It's now a restaurant and inn that offers haunted and historical tours, and also hosts Halloween parties and dinner theater. Perhaps it was at one of these events that a Redditor's friend caught this frightening footage. As the friend wanders around the mansion in the short clip, you can see odd moving shapes throughout, but the scariest appears at the end. A dark figure lurks in the bright light of the window, materializing out of thin air. It then disappears when the camera pans back around again. According to the Redditor, his friend didn't see the figure at the time. Redditor Fluffy Socks writes, "If you slow it down and look frame by frame, you'll see he's sitting there looking out the window. Gives me a pretty weird feeling, TBH. Do you have that feeling too? I certainly do. If you heard an unexplainable spine-tingling sound, would you have the guts to go investigate?
What is that sound?
Published to YouTube by Jared McLean in February of 2019, he explains that he heard this terrifying noise outside at 2 in the morning. He said that the sound started out of nowhere and reminded him of a scary movie soundtrack. The noise seemed to be occurring a few blocks away, so he went to get dressed and drove over there to investigate, but the minute he went to leave, the sound ceased. Jared said he wondered if it was paranormal or some natural phenomenon. He asked for his fellow YouTubers to chime in with their theories. Some suggest it sounds like a badly tuned orchestra. Others say someone must have set off every car alarm at once. Still others believe it could be a train's brakes being applied on a nearby railroad track. And even more claim that they've heard the same sound themselves. Nash TV Guy put in his own 2 cents writing, "There are a ton of reports from all over the world of these strange sounds, with suggestions ranging from underground bases and drilling. What they all have in common is they're scary. At least we can all agree on that much. Any clue as to what this sound could be?" A YouTuber named Lou Rock is live streaming from a supposedly haunted location, known only as the Yellow House. He and his friend are cautiously poking around the abandoned building when a faint noise sends them running directly into a large room to investigate. The room is bare except for an inordinate number of gnarled clothes hangers in the closet, which begin twisting in unison, almost as if in acknowledgement of their presence.
There's not a window open in here.
Are they moving? It looks like they're moving.
Wow.
This is on live stream, so you can see for yourself at no point did they touch the hangers. I think the hangers really are being moved by an unseen force based on what I'm about to show you next. As you can see from this video, there is no wind moving the blinds or curtains at all, so it couldn't have been a draft moving the hangers. They continue to find more weird miscellaneous objects scattered around the house, including a rope tied to a ripped kid's shoe.
It looks like somebody was hung up by their feet.
Giant holes have been punched into the wall of this room, either from destructive teens or from the previous house owner during an aggressive fit of rage. Just as they are sensing something deeply wrong with the kitchen, something brings them back into the room with blown out walls.
Yeah, me too.
What's that?
They are genuinely creeped out by now and don't make it much further before the sound returns again.
Weird. Alright, we're out of here.
At this point, Lou Rock wisely decides to leave before he becomes the Yellow House's next permanent resident. Dan Sutherland has a very nondescript closet in his room with a plain-looking wooden door. For some reason, his baby girl Lily has taken an extreme interest in the closet lately, and he thinks he might know why.
I remind you, there's a closet. She don't know what's up there. Here we go. Watch. What you see over there?
There's absolutely nothing about the outside of the closet that should attract Lily's attention for a single second, but her gaze seems utterly transfixed at times. There is, however, something inside that she might be interested in, though she should have no idea of its presence or its implications. As it turns out, Lily's grandmother recently passed away, and inside of that closet is the very same shirt her grandma was wearing on that day, along with some other personal belongings. What's even more strange is that Dan recently moved them into the closet on the day before Mother's Day. Prior to this, Lily had never really taken notice of the closet much before. Now Dan is wondering if Lily is detecting her grandma's presence, and quite honestly, so am I. If you can think of any reason for Dan's daughter to look over at that ordinary looking closet with such a pleased expression on her face for so long, then please let me know. I personally have no idea what could be holding her attention like that, except for her grandmother's comforting presence. This home video looks like it was taken sometime during the 1990s. A child is sitting in a high chair, happily learning about the different names for various parts of the body when something briefly interrupts the innocent lesson.
This is my elbow.
Where is
Where's the ghost?
He's gone.
The child tracks an invisible object with an exaggerated head motion. Then he mumbles about a ghost. It's hard to tell what he says, but I think he might have said there's the ghost or something along those lines, almost as if he's been at it before and has been expecting to see it again for some time. The child thinks for a bit and then says something else that's really weird.
Daddy, kill him?
Yeah.
It almost sounds like he's asking if his dad got the ghost or something like that. It's hard to tell what he says here, so give me your best guess. Maybe together we can figure out the surrounding circumstances behind this video. Anyway, things go back to normal for a bit, and it looks like the paranormal encounter is over. But then he makes a really confused face and looks around again, saying something else that's completely indecipherable. Even if we were to know the identity of the child in this video, I doubt they would remember anything of use. All we have to go by is this puzzling piece of paranormal evidence. When you have video proof from not one, but 3 angles, it's hard for paranormal deniers to say it's all in your head. Posted by one Ocelot4 to the Ghosts subreddit. The Redditor caught the strange shadow in his kitchen on a security camera. He said the window shutters were down and nothing in the kitchen was turned on. He also mentioned in the comments that he sometimes feels cold spots in the hallway, and his security camera often goes off when he leaves the house. Whether you believe in the paranormal or not, the following footage is hard to explain. The clip shows a large, dark shadow flash past, falling over the kitchen entryway for just a moment. Not only has the uploader captured this footage from one vantage point, but he has all 3 cameras on it, and they all show the creepy shadow flicker past. What in the world could be creating this terrifying effect? Those in the comments have plenty of theories. Redditor Mr. Mesquite says it's obviously a ghost writing. Very harmless unless you are harmed. Good luck. While many note that it could be something casting the shadow from outside through the windows, the Redditor reiterates that the shades are closed. So who do you choose to believe? Is there a practical explanation? Or should this Redditor bring in a medium and scope out the situation? As another Redditor suggests, whatever happens, I don't think I'd be entering that kitchen for a while. Hospitals are incredibly haunted places. Posted to YouTube in September of 2019, HRJ Paranormal Adventures navigates this hospital. Situated at the foothills of the South Pittsburgh Mountain, the 68,000 square foot hospital was founded in 1959. But the haunting may date back to well before it was built. Unlike Penhurst, there are no reports of mistreatment at this hospital during its operation, but there were reports by hospital employees of paranormal activity, such as inanimate objects moving of their own accord, disembodied voices, and dark shadowy figures, including a 7-foot-tall man on the 3rd floor, who is believed to be a former surgeon who practiced at the facility. He's not the only one haunting the 3rd floor. A toddler spirit and an elderly woman have both been observed there. 2 other spirits, a janitor and a female spirit, known as the Naughty Nurse, haunt the basement. This has drawn many paranormal investigators to the hospital since it closed in 1998. HRJ Paranormal Adventures manages to capture a few paranormal entities in this video. One is a ghostly reflection that appears twice at 3 minutes 53 seconds, and then again at 3 minutes 58 seconds.
All the discussion, all the people.
Follow the crew on their hour-long investigation of this haunted place, and you might just capture a few more spirit sightings and disembodied voices. What you discover when out late at night can make your skin crawl. Posted to Reddit, the Redditor writes, "People are saying it could be a skinwalker." The on-screen caption reads, "Something weird is happening in my town." And after watching the video, you'll agree with that statement. The video begins with something hopping on all fours over a hill while roaring in an animalistic manner. It's hard to tell what the thing is at a distance, human or animal. The second clip in the series reads, "Dude, something is in the shed at Desert Willow," and it certainly sounds like it. Something is beating against the barred doors of a shed at night. There's also a terrifying growling voice heard, though its words are inaudible. It's difficult to tell if the thing is human, but it continues to beat at the walls of the shed. Part 2 of the video series reads, "Stay away from Dynamite Park." In it, barking, howling, and wailing are heard. It doesn't sound like a dog, nor does it sound human. Again, the video captures an unidentified creature at a distance, racing around on all fours. Could this be a skinwalker? Don't stick around to find out. Nevertheless, it appears some serious mysteries are taking place in that town. Bryce Newbold describes this Ohio hiking experience through the Shawnee State Forest as a very rough trip, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly why. It's a hot summer's day and he has many miles ahead. By 4 miles, he is drenched and walks about half a mile to drink from the river. His next source of water won't be until nightfall, and by then he will have walked 12 miles. By the second day, he is feeling unusually miserable and drained and decides to take a shorter route.
I am absolutely covered in either little tiny ticks or chiggers. They're probably chiggers. They are all over me right now. I tried washing them off, but I mean, I'm gonna have to go through and pick them off one by one, it looks like.
He's looking pretty pale by the end of the day, even though he's been getting plenty of sun. That's because poor Bryce has been getting his legs chewed off by tiny ticks that won't give up, and by the end of the day it's looking pretty bad.
And I have a million bites from those little chiggers last night. You can see they're still on there.
By the time he gets back home, his legs and feet are covered in marks. I'm not a doctor, but I definitely would be going to one soon if I were him. That looks really bad, and I think it's probably time for a test or two to make sure you didn't get anything from them. I really hope he's okay and that nothing like this ever happens to him again. It's always unnerving when a complete stranger shows up on your doorstep, but even more so when it's someone acting like this guy. Posted to the Chills Narrator subreddit by Miss Doolittle Tex, the Redditor explains that this man showed up on her doorstep and just stood there, not ringing the doorbell. The video shows exactly that. He walks slowly and haphazardly to the door, carrying some plastic bags. Then he just stands there for a moment, appearing to be listening at her door, before turning around and heading back up the sidewalk. He isn't wearing a mask, and as the Redditor says, left as soon as her dogs started barking, but not for long. He is seen on another security camera, walking along some grass behind the houses. He simply strolls along the water and then disappears, but moments later is seen racing back, jumping fences along the way. Apparently someone had also trespassed on her neighbor's property the previous night. It's unclear what he did there, how long he stayed, or what or who he's fleeing from, but the Redditor didn't want to find out what his plans were. She called the authorities. This man doesn't appear to be in his right mind. Whatever this man's situation, most agree calling the authorities was the right thing to do. As a parent, often you must keep your fear inside for the sake of your children. If you want to know how, take a master class from this dad, posted by Matt to World in February of 2016. The uploader writes in Spanish, a video that I took of a paranormal phenomenon that occurs in a neighborhood of Greater Buenos Aires. The video appears to show a father and son watching TV. The father apparently feels the urge to go check on something in the room next door. When he first looks in, apart from a strange sheet appearing to cover something in the middle of the floor, nothing seems abnormal. It also looks like two figures are asleep in opposite beds. He returns to his son, checks the bathroom and the kitchen, and swings back to the room where the light fixture is still swinging around. Then the sheet suddenly collapses. Apparently it was covering nothing. A nearby broom falls to the ground, and then someone in the bed moves. Somehow the father remains incredibly calm, as if this is an everyday occurrence, and from the sounds of it, it might be. In the comments, Matt2World suggests the man's calm reaction to the ghost was in order to not scare his son. Matt claims this is just one of the frightening anomalies that occurred to the family in this home. He also says they ended up moving, as they'd suffered enough. After seeing this single event, I don't think I'd stay in that house a moment longer. We've all been there. It's a stormy night. Every sound in the house is an evil entity vying for your soul. That must have been what this man was feeling when he saw this happen in his dining room on a stormy night. The clip shows a man enter his dining room, which appears completely normal. Every chair in place. He enters his laundry room, then casts the camera down the stairs. It appears that something must have happened to cause him to search his house. He says hello down the stairs. Is someone or something there? He decides to go into his basement to investigate. The wooden steps are incredibly rickety. As he's nearing the bottom, a terrifying racket is heard upstairs. He runs for his life, only to find his kitchen chairs precariously stacked up, balanced one on top of the other. The dining room light is swinging around. The shot is still as the man crosses the room and stands frozen in fear at this ominous sight. The overhead light continues to swing, and nothing is there. There's something especially uneasy about the stacking of this man's furniture. Part of that uneasiness comes from the fact that no human could have done this particular building job in the short period of time that the man was away. Who do you think did it? Or what? Monsters are all around us. Will you be brave enough to fight when you encounter them? In this video, a man is standing in a dark alleyway when another man to his right appears. Figures also seem to be standing around him in the darkness, out of sight of the camera, as you can see vague flickers of movement. Suddenly, he's at the mercy of these figures. But the movement is not human, but like a hurricane force. He's thrown to the ground and the force disperses. Then the other full-figured man in the video grabs him, before heading back into the adjacent building. It's almost as if there's water on the ground. As the man tries to move, there's a ripple effect. Then he is dragged by his feet by the unknown force off camera. The rippling continues for a moment before going still, but the stillness is brief. When the other dude returns to the alleyway, looking upon the scene, he suddenly rushes back into the building as something huge is thrown in after him. It's not clear if it's a person, place, or thing. A moment later, a figure wearing a long black cape and a hat leaves the building. A window shatters beside it as the figure departs. What in the world is happening here? Any theories? I feel at a loss when coming up with a rational explanation for these happening. Phil the Thrill is exploring the forest with a friend when they encounter something strange in the water that looks really out of place.
You see that?
What?
What is that?
Discarded at the end of a small stone trail is a black box tightly bound by rope with a single padlock hanging over one end. Across from the padlock is a note written for whoever finds it.
Just beat the heck out of it, maybe it will open.
Hey dude, what is this?
Let me see.
It's like a note or something.
Oh, what the heck?
With sadness, I'm writing this letter because I can no longer take care of her. I thought this could be the best way to give her a new life.
They take the mystery box all the way back to their house where they have the tools needed to pick the lock. Whatever's inside has been silent the entire time, and they fear the worst as they pop the lid.
Pull it off. Let's see what's in here. What the? There's a baby in here?
Inside is not a dog like they were thinking. Apparently, whoever left the note was the parent.
Oh my god.
After that, I immediately called the police.
I have trouble believing she's actually left her out in the forest. The youngster is clean and not underweight. Her clothes aren't dirty and her pacifier is still in her mouth despite getting rattled around on the way back. Phil the Thrill goes on to claim he called the police immediately. According to him, they came out and told him not to film anymore.
The police, and they were able to get the baby reunited with her parents. The police told me not to record the phone call. That's why I'm not going to post any of the footage on YouTube.
It doesn't make sense for him to post all of this other stuff, but not the one thing that would have convinced me. I think a more likely reason for the lack of a phone call is because faking a police report can get you in serious trouble. Then again, it wouldn't be that hard to pretend to talk to the police on his phone if you really wanted to fake it. Now, I'm not so sure if it's real or fake, and I guess that's why this creepy video's gotten well over 6 million views. The shadow hunters from Brazil go exploring the woods for an abandoned house haunted by an angry poltergeist. It's a long walk through darkness to find it, but when they do, they go sprinting up to its yellow walls to try and catch the poltergeist by surprise.
Vai. Tem alguém aí?
They walk around the perimeter of the poltergeist house and find something else that leaves him extremely freaked out and regretting their decision to come here at night.
Tem nada aí não, mano. Tem alguém aí? Tem vela aqui também. Nossa, mano do céu.
On the ground are more candles and a sheet that was something strangely shaped underneath of it. Candles surround the object on all sides and give me a bad feeling that something has gone really wrong here. Whatever's been covered with a sheet is not moving and shows no signs of life. They go inside for a closer look but do not dare lift up the sheet and see what's inside. What do you think was under there? If the legends were true about this poltergeist being a summoner, then I think we all know the answer. They might have set this all up for a video, but I don't think so. He doesn't waste any time ending this video and calling the police. Julius Kitty has a child who won't stop looking up at the same spot on the ceiling and laughing for no apparent reason. It's almost as if someone or something is putting on a little show just for her, but clearly nothing is up there. After giggling for quite some time, the child suddenly grows silent and leaves the room while still looking up.
Oh, are they leaving? You're following them, huh?
The toddler follows whatever it is back into the room and tries to get his parents to see what she's looking at by pointing. Then she goes back over to the same spot and reaches up at the ceiling again. This time it's almost like she wants to be picked up by whatever it is that she sees.
Oh my gosh. Creeping me out.
If this is a spirit, then whatever form it's taking does not appear to upset the child. If anything, the toddler seems fascinated with its presence and wants to get a closer look. Let me know what you think this was, and if it is paranormal, tell me if you think this is a good spirit, maybe even that of a relative, or a bad one who is trying to gain the trust of a child. When you hear some unusual noise in your everyday life, do you ever stop to think, what in the world was that? Redditor Shadow Husky 1 did when he heard this strange sound coming from his parents' closet. Husky writes, just moved in, house built in the late 50s. When the boy walks into his parents' bedroom, you can see his reflection in the floor-length mirror. Somebody's here, he says. As some note in the comments, at the 90-second mark, a strange shadow crosses the camera. Actually, it looks more like a blur or a smudge than a shadow. He asks the thing to please make a noise, and unfortunately it responds.
Please make a noise.
As the boy is backing away from the door, you can hear what sounds like clothes hangers clang together. He then enters an adjacent bathroom connected to the closet. As he tries to flick the light a dozen times, a woman's voice can be heard for a moment. Who is it? What do they want? Is there a spirit haunting this closet? If so, what happened here? Shadow Husky doesn't stay long enough to find out. Can't blame him. Have you ever caught something creepy on video while using an app? That's what happened to these people, who posted the footage to Reddit. Watch the window behind the girl. About 4 seconds into this clip, you'll spot exactly what scared her. At the beginning of the video, nothing can be seen silhouetted by the light from the window. But 4 seconds in, when the girl pans over the window again, this figure appears. What is that? It looks like the figure is walking around inside her apartment. While some think this is obviously a ghost, and others a gargoyle, some in the comments of the video are in fear for the girl's life. Viggy Poos writes, "If it's not a ghost, it may be an intruder. Please call the police." Others believe that there's some more plausible explanations. Nicosaurus Rex, for instance, says that it looks like it could be some item stood up on a dresser or surface that she passes by. It does appear as though she's turning the corner while trying to avoid something near the hallway, so the explanation could very well be just that. The figure is rather something out of focus stood on a surface closer to the hallway. Whatever it is, I think we can all agree this video raises many questions, while at the same time being incredibly creepy. This clip was posted to the Chills Narrators subreddit by Scream Aim and Fire. When you're home alone and you start catching things moving out of the corner of your eye, you may begin to wonder whether you're really alone after all. Scream explains that, days before, she had noticed a bell hanging from the ceiling move slightly, but there was no breeze, and nothing else hanging in the room was moving. Thereafter, when she was home alone, she started to hear things, like people pacing the hallways. She turned on her camera after hearing something fall in the home, as she was determined to go and investigate. The Redditor notes that later, after rewatching the video, a couple orbs flew by. Even scarier, she writes, "I think I saw my mother-in-law's doll move too." Watch the video closely, and you'll see exactly what she's talking about. As she walks into her mother-in-law's room, the doll sitting on a chair against the back wall does appear to move its head ever so slightly. While the orbs captured throughout the video could very well be dust, it's hard to explain the doll's inexplicable movement. Does the Redditor have a Chucky situation on her hands? If so, she'd better flee before the gloves come off. A YouTuber named Vision Quest Outdoors is exploring the Gettysburg field when he has what he believes is a real video of a ghost sighting. The video is pretty scary and I think he could be right. Let's take a look at the paranormal evidence and try to figure out what it was he and his friends say on that night.
What is that?
No way there's a guy out here at 2 a.m.
According to the uploader, they turned around only to find the figure had mysteriously disappeared.
But they didn't move.
Swing around.
This is the footage from when they turned around, but unfortunately it's too dark to make out very much one way or another. I believe what he says is true because if I'm not mistaken, this footage is from the same location during the day. There are cannons lined up here, but no statue whatsoever. If this was the same location, then this definitely has to be a real ghost sighting caught on video.
Is he on the stairs? Is he standing there?
Yes.
Where?
That's the reaction of a YouTuber's daughter when asked to identify the man on the stairs. Her mom is very curious and wants to know more about what her daughter thinks she is seeing.
Where's the man? Where? Show Mama, where's the man?
Man stares, her daughter says in a tiny British accent. It would almost be cute if the paranormal implications weren't so terrifying. After all, she is talking about being watched by a stranger in their own living room. As the video continues, you can tell the girl becomes more afraid to look up from her toys. She obviously does not want to see the man by the stairs anymore. Though I have no idea what he looks like or what he's doing, the girl does not seem to be smiling or showing any other signs of making up a story, so I am inclined to believe this potential ghost sighting could be real. Let me know if you agree or not. Carly Oaxaca has a 2-year-old daughter who refuses to enter a certain room in the house at any time, day or night. She stands at the entrance and timidly looks around with her hand covering her mouth, not even daring to go inside when her mother asks,
"Wanna come in here?" Okay, it's okay. Mommy will come out.
Years later, when their daughter could talk more clearly, she would go on to recall a scary man who lived in the closet. He had red eyes and an all red and black face. Let me know if you think this is really what she was seeing in this video, or if the child is simply making up a scary story to trick her parents. I will add that, according to the uploader, this was not the only strange occurrence to take place in their household. Her son would describe a boy named Marcus, who would try and play with him sometimes. All family members would also get deep red scratches around the arms a lot for no reason at all. Eventually they moved and have not been bothered since. According to YouTubers, most who've watched this video arrived there by typing in a random emoji into the search bar. That may be because the video shows a woman replacing her prosthetic eye. At the start of the video, the woman's eyes look nearly identical. The coloring is the exact same. In fact, I'd be surprised if you knew without reading the title that one of these eyes is fake, and I'd highly doubt that you could guess the real from the prosthetic. That's how good prosthetic eyes are in this day and age. But what happens next will make you question everything. The smiling woman holds open the bottom lid of her left eye, and after a little bit of finicking, the eye slides right out. All that remains is the eye socket. The woman then shows you her prosthetic, which is really just the front half of an eyeball. It is concave and empty behind. She replaces it in her eye by inserting it up behind her upper lid and then pulling her lower lid out to wrap around the bottom of the prosthetic. The eye is now back in place. She demonstrates its movement, and while it doesn't show as wide a range of circulation as a regular eye, it's certainly impressive what modern technology has done to improve visual prosthetics. It's 2:10 a.m. on September of 2015. This individual is fast asleep in their bed, as anyone might expect to be at such a late hour. Posted to YouTube by the Genderuwo in April of 2019. The video shows a man tossing and turning in his sleep, normal restlessness. At one point he pulls the covers up over his head. A short while later he turns onto his side. All normal, but what's abnormal is the body shape that appears to be sleeping next to him. After rolling to his side, the man notices the unwelcome company under the covers. He starts feeling what looks to be a solid form beside him. Appearing startled, he gets out from under the covers, patting the blanket up and down, before pulling it clean off his bed. As you likely suspected, there is nothing beneath it. Further footage in the man's apartment shows a strange blurred shadow figure cross from a hallway to another room in the home. The same sort of shadow figure is seen again in the footage from another hallway in the apartment. What do you think? Is it time to move? Probably should, just in case. Don't know about you, but I'd do whatever was in my power to avoid sharing my bed with an unwelcome ghost. Surveillance cameras sometimes capture images you just can't handle. Posted by one Dante1 to the Sir Spook subreddit. You might want to stay inside at night after watching this clip. Dante explains that they put out trail cams because they lost their cat. While they were working out in their garage at night, they set off their motion detector and, a moment later, caught this on camera. The clip plainly shows the men working in the light of the garage. Night has fallen, and the rest of the scene is quite dark. That is, until a phantom spirit drifts into view. The vapor-like phantom has a human figure and flies in from the top right of the screen. In fact, it appears as though the figure strolls right into the frame. MuggleMad32 writes, "This is a really good capture of an apparition," while Explore with Sunny adds that it's pretty unexplainable. Is it truly unexplainable? If so, do you hold the key to the explanation? Unfortunately, this clip isn't longer, or we may have seen where this phantom is off to. Let's hope he didn't do anything to that poor cat. A group of friends see a stranger leave the woods in a hurry. They think it's odd and make a video.
Andy caught someone coming out of the tunnel. Pretty creepy, pretty scary. So.
Oh bro, what's that smell?
Oh, it's rank.
Can you smell that? Guys, there's literally flies all over the place. Oh bro, can you smell that? That stinks, bro.
Oh, nasty, man.
In the tunnel, they find a white sheet covered in red with a very distinct human outline underneath, and this is their reaction.
That stinks. Man, that was grim. Hey, we need to ring the police.
Crazy as anything.
Having this happen would be really scary.
We need to ring the police.
What?
We need to ring the police.
Have you got a phone?
No, I've not got a phone. Have you got one?
Bro.
Hey, can I have police, please?
One minute you're hanging out with your friends, and the next moment you're all suspects.
Yeah, I've just been exploring with mate, and we've just found a body.
This video was taken at night in a parking garage somewhere in West India. A woman was apparently acting normal until she was suddenly attacked by what some bystanders later described as a ghost. Watch this part and tell me if you think she is having delusions or fighting off a spiritual possession. Try to translate if possible too, please. I did not think much of this video until I noticed what could be a strange paranormal disturbance. Some kind of fast-moving white objects repeatedly appeared during the harshest times of her struggle. Like here, for instance. Poor camera quality makes it hard to tell if these are some kind of spirit orbs or just insects. If these are insects and nothing more, I find it weird that there are only just a few of them, and how they only seem to appear during key moments of the video when she is in the most distress. A doll with a creepy aura is chilling enough. So what happens when the doll actually moves? The G-Team Paranormal Investigators posted this video to YouTube in March of 2019 writing, "After my recent video with Omar, I decided to take his haunted dolls home with me that night. I did not bring them inside my home. I left them in a shed out back. After watching back the video I did with Omar a few times, I decided to introduce his dolls to mine and turn the camera on." The video reveals an unsettling movement. As Patty, the host, is talking about the dolls, you can see one of the porcelain dolls' heads moves ever so slightly.
Because I don't want to keep her, but I'd like her to go to a good home. I mean, if there's somebody out there that's interested, I don't... Did that thing just move?
As if she's listening. Is she? If she is, does she like what she's hearing? She must not have gone full-on Chucky when the camera stopped rolling. So we can assume so. Up a long forest mountain path is an abandoned house near the Chinese city of Chengdu that is said to be haunted. An explorer named the Sneezing Monkey travels to the fabled house to see if anything paranormal is there. There's not much left inside, but he does find an old book that he seems particularly interested in. At 2 minutes and 6 seconds, it almost looks like it gets slapped out of his hands by a possible ghost, but he could have dropped it too. Tell me what these pages say. For some reason, he seems to feel it's interesting enough to show the camera. Not much else happens, and just when I was doubting this house was haunted, I hear this. He's looking at some kind of fire pit or something and hears a noise. He looks up and hears it again coming from the attic. He doesn't stick around for long and wisely decides to leave. Time to brush your teeth. Published to YouTube by Talal Essa in April of 2017. You'll probably be triple checking your tap before you do that after watching this video. Asking why does black water come out of the tap? Talal demonstrates this unsettling happening, letting his tap run with inky, brackish, blackish brown water emitting from the faucet. The color does not dilute at all in the entire minute that he leaves it running. Is this toxic water? Probably not. Many in the comments offer suggestions for what's likely going on, with YouTuber Jack Jamin suggesting the color is likely due to heavy metal buildup, he says. Mick Bradford and Rumble Lane went another way though. Bradford asks, do you have a well and live next to a cemetery? While Rumble Lane simply states, there's a demon in your faucet. Certainly looks like it. YouTuber Moxley's Crazy Adventures posted this haunted graveyard video in November of 2019 writing, welcome back to my first haunted graveyard. I went here to see what I could capture, if anything at all. What I did capture was insane. Alright, you reeled us in. Let's just hope you deliver. And Moxley does deliver. He captures a dark shadow-like figure gliding across the backdrop of a lit brick wall. He shouts out to it, but it doesn't respond.
What the hell is that? Hello?
He later hears heavy footsteps nearby. They're clearly heard in the leaves around him. In the comments, YouTuber Spooky Spectre notes that this thing wasn't moving like a human being, nor did the brush move as it passed by. It also didn't respond when being called out to, or make noise or footsteps. Do you agree with Spooky Spectre? Did this freak you out? If not, then you're one brave cookie. Well, some orbs do indeed appear like nothing but floating dust. Others act more strangely. Published to YouTube by Ryan Blake in April 2020, he writes, caught this on our night vision camera at about 4 AM. This is a very used basement, and there really isn't any dust down there, since my wife and I keep it very clean. Don't know what to make of it really. The series of videos shows orbs on several occasions sweeping past the camera. The first one flies from the upper left corner down to the bottom right. The second up the right side of the screen. The third briefly appears after the YouTuber shuts the door at the end of the hallway to go to bed. And the fourth flies up to the right and then back down again, returning to the bottom left corner. Is this a case of bugs, dust, or other explainable events? Or could this be a spirit channeling these homeowners, attempting to be made known? If only we could ask the orbs what their motive is. A YouTuber named Advil thinks he is alone until he hears voices off in the distance. He soon finds himself drawn to the stairs leading down into the basement for reasons he cannot explain. Something just feels out of place down there, but he isn't sure what. He calls out and gets an incredibly strange and eerie reply from the darkness below. Maybe if you are wearing headphones, you can tell me what is being said here. It almost sounds like they are whispering, "He's here."
Hello?
Moments later, Advil receives an undeniable confirmation that something is in the house with him. A dark figure somehow stands out against the pitch black background as it crosses the doorway. It makes no attempt to go up the steps and reveal its true form. If this is real, then whatever is down there apparently wants to stay down there, and possibly one day take Advil with him. If you've never come across a sadistic shadow, then you don't know true fear. Think you're brave enough to face it? Then keep watching. The footage shows an empty stairwell. A young woman appears at the top, descending to the hallway, when she abruptly turns back as a dark shadow enters the stairwell from the doorway below. The vague shadow then disappears into thin air, but then appears again moving up the stairs. Solifidian in the comments has a theory about the shadow ghost's movements. He writes, hypothetically speaking, a ghost may not have any real physical limitations, so maybe movements are not going to align with how physical matter moves, but it appears it is absorbing all visible light frequencies, so it must be comprised of some kind of particles. What do you think? Is this particle-like shadow ghost something worth investigating? I certainly think it is. When walking alone in the wilderness, you generally don't want to run into anyone at all, let alone someone perched in a place you'd least expect them. That's exactly what happened to this individual, whose footage was posted to YouTube in August of 2014. The person appears to be walking in a rather remote forested area. Ahead stands a blocked stone tunnel, and sitting atop the concrete is someone dressed in a white shirt facing the tunnel's interior. What are they doing there, and why? Reaching this depth of the forest, or that tunnel itself, are quite difficult tasks. The cameraman doesn't wait to find out, and probably rightly so. He backs away slowly, before turning around and moving quickly out of there. Some locals in the comments insist to never approach that area, saying this is really serious, never go. I gotta agree, better safe than sorry. It's not unusual to try and make out figures in the clouds, but what happens when the figures are not just your imagination? This dark diamond-shaped figure floating over a body of water and below a curtain of clouds is not something your imagination conjured up. What do you see? Well, some in the comments of the video believe it's a star destroyer, a tear in the space-time continuum, or the monarch in the cocoon from Venture Brothers. Others take a more practical approach. It's called a water spout, Fisticuffs writes, and after reading up on the characteristics of a water spout, I must say I have to agree. Otherwise known as a non-supercell tornado, the funnel-like vortex occurring above a body of water in tropical or subtropical regions is often connected to clouds overhead. So as ominous as this figure may appear, it could be naturally occurring. Still, nevertheless, it will make you question everything. Do you choreograph TikTok dances? If so, you'd better skip this one. Published to YouTube by Unknown Barbados in April of 2020. This video will have you checking over your shoulder the next time you gear up to press record. The video shows a woman dancing outside a brick building with a darkened hallway behind her. As she dances like nobody's watching, unbeknownst to her, someone is. Look over her shoulder as she does her moves. This woman is not alone. Someone with long dark hair and a pale face that's unusually blurred peers from behind her for a split second before vanishing back into the shadows. A nightmare specter spectator if I ever saw one. What would you do if you saw this in one of your TikTok posts? Probably would be the end of your TikToking career. Another structure that's prime real estate for a haunting? Hospitals. Posted to YouTube by Ogden Paranormal in September of 2019. The group of paranormal investigators explores Old 2L Hospital, one of Utah's most haunted places. Samuel Lee built the structure as a resident in 1873. His family lived there until 1913, after which it was remodeled into a home for the elderly and those with special needs. Some called it the county poorhouse. The Old 2L Hospital closed down in 2000, with half of it serving as an elderly care unit, while the other half serves as Asylum 49. Although Anderson was skeptical about the site's paranormal activity at first, his research into the hospital prompted him and his wife to contact paranormal researchers to investigate the site in 2007. Upon exploring the building, the UGO, or Utah Ghost Organization, documented thousands of EVPs and captured pictures and video footage of mists, apparitions, shadows, orbs, and other seemingly paranormal activity. Now, the 2L Hospital is the scene of private ghost searches twice a year, from January to July. So what sort of spirits haunt this hospital? The nurse spirit, Maria, is said to guard a spiritual portal in the hospital that is believed to lead to another world. Another ghost that haunts the hospital goes by the name of Wes. This patient appears scared and confused, as it's said that the real Wes had Alzheimer's at the time of his passing. Ghost West haunts the room that he stayed when he was alive, as well as the nearby hallway. A medium tried to assist West in crossing over, but was hindered by some dark entity that always remains close by. With this background in mind, without further ado, let's get back to our regularly scheduled programming. Ogden writes, "We've investigated here a few times in the past and captured incredible evidence, but our last visit scared us so bad that we ended up leaving early. Now we return to this location to face whoever or whatever ran us out of the building all those years ago. This time, the group's visit includes light anomalies, particularly the entire operating room lighting up and a strange light appearing in the nursery. Strange sounds are heard at 10 minutes 13 seconds and 10 minutes 15 seconds.
Where you at, Wes? Where you at, Wes?
And all the mannequins set up around the hospital don't help one bit. Creepiness is given an edge by those inert bodies. At around 17 minutes 37 seconds as well, it looks as if a foot appears on camera in the bottom left corner. Disembodied voices go unexplained. The entire video makes you wonder if this is paranormal's resting place. Asylums hold dark energy, and this one is no exception. This footage posted by the Paranormal Files navigates their visit to Penhurst Asylum. Patient number 1 entered the asylum on November 23, 1908. It took only 4 years for the hospital to be overrun by residents, with pressure to include others. The patients weren't only there to be treated, they were there to contribute to industry, whether it be farming, making and repairing mattresses or shoes, cooking or sewing. There were a number of industries to which patients were assigned. Accused of ill treatment of patients, 9 employees of the institute were indicted in 1983. Known as the Halderman case, this indictment ended in the institution's closure and the discharge or transference of 460 patients to other facilities. With all that in mind, it's crystal clear that evil things happened at this institution. These happenings resulted in a presence that would make your stomach turn. Many claim that the site is haunted. In fact, the institute's administration building was partially renovated as the Penhurst Asylum Haunted House in 2010. Again, using the site as such an attraction has been controversial due to the injustice that occurred there, but opening the place to the public has allowed paranormal investigators to explore the hallowed grounds. If you're one who likes to fast forward to the scary parts, Jessie P in the comments has you covered, listing all the sightings or disembodied voices she caught in her viewing of the footage. Some of the catches are confirmed by others in the thread, particularly the hotspot at minute 46. Around 46 minutes 35 seconds, Jessie notes a male whispers saying go back.
Then I'm not
At 46 minutes 50 seconds, the same male voice states, I'm a male.
Like right next to this ear.
At 46 minutes 56 seconds, a female says, he is attacking you. Lots of other disembodied voices are caught by viewers watching the tour of the Institute. And at 1 hour, 5 minutes, 50 seconds, there appears a strange light anomaly as a light or figure seems to shift in the darkness of the hallway. If you're brave enough to watch the entirety of this video, let us know in the comments if you've spotted other anomalies or heard any additional disembodied voices. Thank you so much for getting me to 30,000 subscribers here on my Clips channel. If you want to support, please press that subscribe button. Let's get to 40,000 subscribers next. Thank you.